Today we're going to be talking about different types of beliefs and what's the difference between a belief and a delusion and what makes one better than the other. My name is Michelle Pava. I'm a licensed psychotherapist, and I would love for you to subscribe and ring the bell and like and comment, do whatever you can, because it helps me to create more videos and free resources, which, by the way, are below. But first, let's talk about different types of beliefs and delusions and what is the difference. So let's first look at what's the difference between a delusion and a belief. So it really just comes down to a delusion is a false belief. And some might say that believing in God or faith is a delusion because it's a belief and some people feel it's a false belief. But I want to just point some things out here that there are some people in science and humanity who feel that believing in God is a delusion. And therefore, people who feel that they do certain things in this life and go to another place in another form is a form of potentially delusion. Now, the only reason why I'm bringing this up is to just show you how belief and delusion really can have a thin line, and everyone has a different opinion of what is faith, what is belief, and what is delusion, what is functional, what is not functional. Now listen, if you have anxiety, if you have depression, or if you have an argument with someone, your spouse or a friend, you get what's happening. You get that you're having anxiety. You get that you're having depression. You get that there's conflict. However, there's also people who have no conflict in their relationship and think that that relationship is really great because there's absolutely no conflict, where it might be a relationship built on denial. So again, we're looking at, is it a delusion that they're having a good relationship, or is it just a belief that they want to hold on to, or do they just have faith that the relationship is going to get better? Let's take anxiety and depression. There are people who for years are living in depression and they just think that they're lazy. There are people that don't understand that their obsessive cleaning is actually a sign of anxiety or biting their nails. So there's a lot of people who, because of who they are as a person, don't recognize what is actually real and not real. And that doesn't necessarily make anyone psychologically dysfunctional. Before we even look at delusions and beliefs and all of that, we have to look at personalities, because that's really what it comes down to, right? What our personality is, how we exude whatever it is that we believe or whatever it is that we have faith in. Our personality is about identity, and our personality is about how we adapt, and our personality is also about our temperament. Those are kind of the three main areas of what makes our personality. We all have those, and it really depends on how we were raised, what our genetics are, what our goals are in life, and how we achieve those goals. All of that comes into play on who we are as a person. So going a little deeper, part of our temperament might be, are we more introverted or extroverted? Are we prone to being a little bit neurotic, or are we prone to being a little bit more cathartic? Are we very private or are we very open? How we adapt is a little different. So that is about how we form habits and the habits that we choose to keep and the habits that we choose to not alter. It's also about how we relate to other people. It's about our defenses. It's also about how we justify ourselves. We always have our own storyline of what is normal for us. So for me, someone who's functional is someone who can interact with other people in a fairly peaceful way. They have goals and dreams that they strive for, and they also can pretty much be independent. They can live on their own if they needed to. There's not a lot of drama surrounding them, and they don't erode a lot of relationships. Someone who's dysfunctional might be someone who doesn't really focus on goals and dreams, or they don't have interpersonal relationships, or they're not able to be independent. And that would be someone who is not as functional. Someone who's not functional, however, often can learn to be functional. Sometimes it's a choice, learned helplessness. So in general, that's what I consider a functional person. But let's look at some of the different delusions that are out there, like kinship, where someone might feel that they are part animal, or that they have some genetic code of an animal, or they just choose to take some of the traits of an animal. Sometimes people think that they're reincarnated from an animal. They may even think that they look like a specific type of an animal. And when I'm saying animal, I don't mean a human or a specific other human. I'm talking about they think that they might be a fox or a cat or a dragon even. They often go into fantasy spaces. And most therapists do not see this type of person in their practice because traditionally this person is very functional. And on the rare times that person is in therapy, they're usually not in therapy for that thing. They might have had a breakup with a boyfriend, or they might have had a job issue, but they're not coming in specifically for that belief. They're coming in for something else, and that other part of them just happens to be a part of who they are. Just like some people happen to have a certain type of religious belief. You don't often see someone in the therapy room because of their religious belief. You see someone in the therapy room because of something else that's happening in their life, and their religion just happens to be a part of them. This is the same thing with someone who is in kinship. And I'm not saying that someone who's religious or that has faith is in the same space of someone who thinks that they're half wolf. But I am saying there are similarities to when someone comes into the therapy room, what they bring to the table. They're not coming into therapy because of their belief, usually. People who have different beliefs, whether it is that they feel that they are part animal or that there's some mythological creature like a dragon, a fairy, an angel, an elf, or people who feel that they are vampires or part vampire. Any of those kind of mixes, and there's a lot more, are traditionally very functional people because they can integrate with the outside world. They just happen to have different quirks, different beliefs that are usually very harmless. Where do these come from, though? Often people who escape into any kind of a fantasy or looking at any kind of a higher power are often looking for something bigger than the world around them. I personally do feel spiritual, so who am I to say that the person who feels that they are inspired by being a werewolf is any different than me? I just don't think that if that person is functional and not hurting anyone, I don't feel that they should be singled out as having some kind of a psychiatric disorder when there's plenty of people walking around that if they do good deeds here on earth, that they're going to have some kind of a magical experience in the afterlife. And I know that what I'm saying right now seems really radical because there's so many people out there that are spiritual or have different religions. And the thing is, part of the reason why that's so accepted is because there's so many people that are openly accepted for having that belief system. There's also the people who just use kinship as more of a metaphor. So for instance, maybe someone feels that they are part owl and they think that an owl is very wise and they tap into that metaphor of the owl. They don't necessarily think that they're really an owl, but they feel that they are part owl because they have that kinship or that connection to the energy or the symbolism of an owl. Just like we say all of the time that there's angels on earth. So what makes one belief really that different than the other? And the reason why I'm bringing this up is not to trash religion. Again, I'm on Team God, but it's not to say that every single person who thinks that they're part animal is completely rap tight. But I think that we are in a world where identity has become really politicized, and we have a lot of governing people saying what is right and what is not right. Right now, there's a lot of people in the trans community, and a lot of the kinship, by the way, feel connected and feel like they are a part of the trans community because it's all about identity. And it's interesting that it's political because a lot of the people who are in kinship are actually in kinship because some of them are in it because they are rejecting part of humanity. They are rejecting some of the failures, the actual real failures of humanity. And they're looking to nature and they're taking skills and exercises and observations from nature and applying it to their own life. And they're feeling some sense of relief. They're feeling some sense of satisfaction. And so when they're feeling some sense of satisfaction or relief, they're bringing more of it into their life and it's becoming more of their lifestyle, more of their belief system. And when something works for you, you believe it. I mean, there's many people who believe that a sugar pill has cured them. So what makes them not delusional as opposed to someone who thinks that they're part fox, right? So if we start to look at belief systems and delusions, there's really a fine line there. There's a fine line between belief systems and delusions and what's functional and not functional. And again, I think that there's less of a line in what's functional and not functional and a very blurred line in belief systems and delusions. Give me ideas, comment below, definitely subscribe and ring the bell, but comment below because I would like to know your thoughts on different types of beliefs. I'm totally fine with you having a different opinion because I think that this should be more of a conversation than like a lecture. Do you know what I'm saying? So I want to hear your opinions on your belief systems? And do you think that your belief is different or better than someone else's? Or are you open to different belief systems? All right, so let's get to it.